So we have some news here from Reuters about a major step taken by prominent social media sites. They report YouTube and Facebook are among the sites deploying systems to block or rapidly take down ISIS videos and other similar material. Now, they go on to explain that they kind of did it quietly on the low at first, but some media organizations got wind of it, and then they, reported on it. And they also make clear that they don't know if it's actually a manual thing where they hire people to literally search for the stuff and then delete it, or if it actually is a system. But it's an interesting thing that sets up a strong debate here where I'm sure people will disagree. And I'm sure there would be, passionate arguments on both sides of it. So, obviously on the one hand, an argument that people make is, dude, it's fucking ISIS. Like, what, you just want to, go ahead, use this fucking social media and we'll treat you like you're a 14-year-old girl from Cleveland and, hey, whatever, it's cool. No harm, no foul, except there's literally harm, and it is foul what they're doing. But, people argue, look at what they're doing. It's so grotesque. It's so beyond the pale. They're literally doing war crimes, if not committing an outright genocide at this point. How could you not do something about it? That's, one argument. But the other argument is, once you open this door, now understand these are private companies, so they can literally get rid of whatever content they want, and they can give you any reason, or they don't even have to give you a reason. They can tell you to fuck off. Private companies can basically do whatever they want with their own private stuff, and that's what it is. We're using their platform. So they're allowed to do it, but the concern is, to me, once you open this door, and once you go down this path, where does it end, man? Because there's not a clear line. It's not like, okay, just ISIS beheadings. Okay, well then what about, for example, an ISIS killing versus just a killing? So, but then people go, well, that's not tied to ISIS, but it is a killing, so maybe you could take that one down too. All right, well then let's go one step further. What if it's police brutality and police murder of an unarmed suspect? What about that? Now, obviously, there's a public good in having people see that, because then they can react to it and try to get policy change or try to get the police chief fired or whatever it is. There's public good in it, but people can argue, hey, still, somebody died, man. Somebody died. Respect the life. Got to take that down. Got to take that down. And then it gets really blurry and the line gets really fuzzy, and you get to the point where people are like, well, what about, so ISIS beheadings and killings are wrong, and we shouldn't show that, but what if it's just, a radical preacher who agrees with ISIS? Well, take that down too, because it's hate speech. But then what if it's just a fundamentalist Muslim who doesn't agree with ISIS, but they still have shitty ideas like gays are horrible and atheists are terrible and stuff? Well, close enough. Take that person down too. Okay, what if it's just a conservative religious person? Well, take that down too. Well, what if that crosses over from Islam to Christianity? You got people like Brian Fisher preach hate every single day, and they, we're going to cover a story later. He compared gay marriage to 9/11. The Catholic League's Bill Donahue compared gay marriage to terrorism. Those are grotesque things to say. This is uber conservative ideology. Once you open that door, hey, take it down. This isn't palatable. Isn't that not palatable also? The line gets so incredibly, immensely blurry, and there is no clear answer. So then you're leaving it up to the discretion of somebody to choose which things to take down. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't fucking trust somebody else's judgment. I don't trust somebody else's judgment. What's palatable to me is different than what's palatable to you, and what's palatable to the person who's ultimately deciding this has to be taken down from social media. So, as much as it's crazy to say, I disagree with it. I disagree with the idea that you should take down this stuff. And then also there's another angle to this too. The fact that you take it down doesn't mean it ain't happening. It means you're censoring yourself from the reality of the world that we live in. And that benefits nobody. So if people know, hey, this is what's happening, maybe 99% of us go back to eating our potato chips and sitting on the couch, but then maybe there's 1% of us that doesn't. Maybe 1% of us say, up and do something about it. They get involved in a variety of different ways with humanitarian efforts or whatever it may be. You're going down a bad path here, a questionable path here. And then again, I haven't even gotten into, if you really want to make that argument of this is bad for people, so we have to take it down, well, then what about, for example, a show like mine, which oftentimes we will highlight not only ISIS crimes, which obviously we do, but also I'll go into detail about the crimes of the U.S., and I'll cite studies that show that because of bad foreign policy, terrorism has increased and recruitment has increased for terrorists. So if I go on about the Iraq War and the number of civilians killed and how that aided terrorists, if I go on about the 90% drone death rate where 90% get the wrong people, if I talk about that, and how that helps terrorists, would some people argue me spreading the information helps terrorists too? And that's a point somebody can try to make. Hey, he's helping terrorists, because when I say, hey, look at exactly what happened at Abu Ghraib or Guantanamo Bay, how we tortured people that weren't guilty of anything, and they did things like anal rape and anal feeding and mock burials and hypothermia torture and all these horrific, grotesque, disgusting things that are just obvious torture and war crimes. When I bring that up, some people will say, even just the fact that you're discussing that is spreading information that can help recruit more for jihadists. And in fact, you're saying that action helped recruit more for jihadists. So therefore, you're spreading the message. Spreading the message is just as bad as the beheading, which might spread the message. Therefore, take it down. It's detrimental. No, you can't do it. You just can't do it, because you open that door and there's no telling. Then you just have an authoritarian system set up where the people in control, the authorities, always get to determine. Okay, that's unacceptable, that's acceptable, we'll censor this, we'll ban this, we'll not do it with that. You can't go down that path. No matter how much you think it's righteous, no matter how much you think it's just, no matter how much you think you're benefiting people by censoring the nature of reality and by trying to, make it an easier, more palatable social media site to deal with, the net effects, I think, are worse.